What drives a person to the edge of darkness, earning them a one-way ticket to death row? And when their final hour comes, what do they eat? What do they say, and do they show? In 2024, 50 souls were condemned to die in the United States. Half were granted a temporary escape, but the other 25 met their fate across 9 different states. What were their crimes? What were their final words? And who was the first in history to be executed by a brand new, controversial method? The final 24 hours of America's most notorious in 2024. Kenneth John Smith, Alabama, a preacher's wife, brutally stabbed in her own home for just $1,000. In 1989, Kenneth John Smith was convicted for his role in the murder-for-hire killing of Elizabeth Sennett. But what made his case infamous wasn't just the cold-hearted crime, it was the way he died. After spending 35 years on death row, appeals and legal battles delayed his fate for decades. But on January 25, 2024, Smith made history. He became the first person ever executed by nitrogen gas, a method never before used anywhere in the world. In his final hours, he saw his family, his attorney, and a spiritual advisor. His last meal was simple: steak, eggs, and fries. But the end was anything but ordinary. Strapped to a gurney, mask was sealed over his face. As pure nitrogen replaced oxygen, Smith's body began to convulse. Witnesses watched as he struggled for several minutes until, finally, he stopped breathing. His final words, haunting: "There is no justice in this." Ivan Cantu, Texas. 2 young lives taken in cold blood. In 2001, Ivan Cantu was sentenced to death for murdering his cousin, 27-year-old James Mosqueda, and James' 22-year-old fiancée, Amy Kitchen, during what prosecutors called a robbery gone wrong. The double homicide sent shockwaves through Dallas. But from behind bars, Cantu maintained his innocence for more than 20 years, claiming he had been framed. His story became a lightning rod for debate. Was he a cold-blooded killer or a man condemned by a broken system? On February 28, 2024, Texas executed him by lethal injection. Unlike other states, Texas doesn't allow special last meals. Cantu received the same food as every other inmate. Facing the families of James and Amy, he didn't beg, he didn't cry. He spoke with clarity and conviction. "I want you to know that I never killed James and Amy. I don't believe this will bring you closure." A few hours later, his death was confirmed. Willie James Pye, Georgia. A violent end to a toxic relationship. In 1993, Willie James Pye kidnapped, raped, and murdered Alicia Lynn Yarrow, a woman with whom he had an on and off relationship. The crime was horrifying. In addition to murder, he was convicted of kidnapping with injury, armed robbery, and burglary. For 27 years, he waited on Georgia's death row, his fate sealed by DNA evidence and witness testimony. On March 20, 2024, his time ran out. For his last meal, he requested a feast: 2 chicken sandwiches, 2 cheeseburgers, 2 bags of chips, and 2 lemon-lime sodas. He ate quietly and alone. When the moment came, he accepted a prayer, but declined to leave a final statement. Silent and staring at the ceiling, he received the injection. Minutes later, he was pronounced dead. Michael Dwayne Smith, Oklahoma. 3 murders, 3 mistaken identities, 1 cold and violent rampage. Between 2001 and 2002, Michael Dwayne Smith left a trail of blood across Oklahoma City. In November 2001, he shot and killed Otis Payne Jr. during an altercation inside a vehicle. But the nightmare didn't end there. Just months later, in February 2002, Smith broke into the home of 41-year-old Janet Moore. He was hunting her son, who he believed was an informant, but instead, he killed Janet, mistaking her for him. That same day, he walked into a convenience store and fatally shot Sareth Paluru, thinking he had mocked his gang. Despite the chaos of his crimes, Smith lived a disciplined life in prison, sticking to a vegetarian diet. But when the end came on April 4, 2024, he declined any special last meal. Instead, he ate whatever was left from the prison commissary. Strapped to the gurney at Oklahoma State Penitentiary, he was asked if he had any last words. With chilling indifference, he said, "Nah, I'm good." Brian Dorsey, Missouri. A Christmas Eve turned deadly. In 2006, Brian Dorsey found himself in deep trouble with drug dealers. Desperate, he called his cousin, Sarah Bonney, asking for help. Hours later, instead of gratitude, he returned with horror. While Sarah and her husband Benjamin were sleeping, Dorsey entered their bedroom and shot them both at point-blank range with a shotgun he had taken from their garage. He later turned himself in, pled guilty, and never contested the facts. On April 10, 2024, Dorsey was executed at Bonne Terre State Prison. His last meal was a heavy spread, burgers, fried chicken, fries, and pizza. But it was his final words that left the room in stunned silence. Through his lawyer, he shared a deeply emotional farewell. To all the family and loved ones I share with Sarah, and to the surviving family of Ben, I am deeply, deeply, and overwhelmingly sorry. Words cannot contain the just weight of my guilt and shame. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I leave with peace in my heart, largely because of you. At 6:11 p.m., his death was confirmed. Jamie Ray Mills, Alabama. An elderly couple brutally slaughtered in their own home. In one of Alabama's most savage murders, Jamie Ray Mills broke into the residence of 87-year-old Floyd Hill and 72-year-old Vera Hill. What followed was nothing short of a bloodbath. Using a machete, a tire tool, and a ball-peen hammer, he struck the couple repeatedly. Floyd died on the spot. Vera, battered and broken, clung to life for 12 agonizing weeks before succumbing to her injuries. The attack was purely for gain. Mills stole their money and medication. Found guilty in 2007. His appeals were rejected one after another over nearly 2 decades. On May 30, 2024, Mills was executed at William C. Hallman Prison in Atmore. His last meal was a seafood feast: shrimp, catfish, oysters, onion rings, and stuffed crab. Surrounded by family, lawyers, and media, he offered no final words before the lethal injection was administered. David R. Hosier, Missouri. A relationship turned deadly. In 2009, David Hosier fell in love with Angela Gilpin, a mother of 2 who was separated from her husband. But when Angela decided to reconcile with her husband Rodney, Hosier spiraled into rage. Angela was found murdered in Jefferson City. Though Hosier was convicted, he always insisted on his innocence, stating there was no physical evidence tying him to the crime. In his final hours, he ate steak, baked potato, Texas toast, apple pie milk, and orange juice. But it was his final message, delivered through a spiritual advisor, that offered a window into his mind. I am the luckiest man on earth. I've been able to tell the truth about my innocence. I leave you all with love. Now I'm going to heaven. Don't cry for me. Just join me when your time comes. On June 11, 2024, David Hosier's execution was carried out. Romero Felix Gonzalez, Texas. It took years to find her body, but only moments for Romero Felix Gonzalez to destroy a life. In 2001, he abducted 18-year-old Bridget Townsend, raped her, and then shot her. He dumped her in a rural part of Texas, where her remains went undiscovered for years. In 2006, Gonzalez confessed to the brutal murder and was sentenced to death. For nearly 2 decades, he lived with what he had done. Then, on June 26, 2024, at 6:50 p.m., the state carried out his execution. His final words were directed to Bridget's family. I cannot put into words the pain I've caused you. I hope this apology is enough. I lived the rest of my life for you, doing my best to restore, to make amends, to take responsibility. I never stopped praying for your forgiveness. Richard Norman Rome, Oklahoma. In 1984, 8-year-old Leah Cummings vanished in Washita County, Oklahoma. Days later, her mutilated body was discovered in a field. The suspect, her former stepfather, Richard Norman Rome Jr., she had been kidnapped, raped, and stabbed to death. Despite overwhelming evidence, Rome maintained his innocence throughout the decades that followed. But the courts didn't buy it. On June 27, 2024, nearly 40 years later, Rome was executed. His final meal, 2 Little Caesars double cheese and pepperoni pizzas, 2 cups of vanilla ice cream, and a bottle of Werner's ginger ale. Tattooed and silent, he looked calm as the 4 was inserted into his left arm. His last words, "I have none. I've already said my goodbyes." Keith Edmund Gavin, Alabama. In a failed 1998 robbery, a delivery driver lost his life, gunned down without warning by Keith Edmund Gavin. The evidence was irrefutable. Convicted and sentenced to death, Gavin spent 26 years behind bars as appeals came and went. On July 18, 2024, he was executed in Alabama. He declined a final feast but accepted a small indulgence, ice cream, and a can of Mountain Dew. As the drugs entered his system, Gavin raised one finger to the sky, a religious gesture, and said, "I love my family." Witnesses reported he whispered in Arabic moments before the end. Arthur Lee Burton, Texas. A morning jog turned fatal. In 1998, Arthur Lee Burton murdered 39-year-old Nancy Edelman, mother of 3. Her body was found the next day, strangled with her own shoelace and left beside a wooded trail in Houston. Initially denying involvement, Burton later confessed. He was sentenced to death. On August 7, 2024, Burton met his end. Before the drugs flowed, he addressed the witnesses. "To all the people I hurt and caused pain to, I just want you to know I wish we didn't have to be here right now. I hope I find peace, and that you can too." Bird is going home. Tabron Dave Honey, Utah. Utah hadn't executed anyone since 2010, until Tabron Dave Honey. In 1998, Honey slit the throat of his girlfriend's mother, Claudia Ben, in a vicious home attack. Convicted of aggravated murder, he spent 25 years on death row. As his case gained media attention, Utah prepared for its rare execution. On August 8, 2024, Honey was given a last meal of a cheeseburger, fries, and a milkshake. He tapped his foot, glanced around, and gasped as the lethal injection took effect. His final words carried a message of transformation. "If this is what it takes for you to heal, then let's do it. To my brothers and sisters, keep changing. I love you all. Take care of yourselves." He then thanked the prison officials personally. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary compelling and chilling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Your thoughts are invaluable. And if you want to hear more true crime stories and follow these emotional and intense cases, hit the bell for notifications.